A whisper carved into stone echoes across centuries. Not mere decoration, but messages left by long-forgotten hands. Why would a medieval stonemason inscribe a secret symbol at the base of a hidden column? Who were these craftsmen who fused faith, geometry, and silence into every fitted block? If you believe architecture can hold forbidden truths and that great monuments carry stories no one ever told, subscribe now. Because the walls of these cathedrals weren't built only for the sky, but for those who would one day learn how to see. For centuries, we've walked past them without knowing they were speaking. Blocks of stone, weathered by time, whispering through marks most eyes never see. The medieval mason didn't just build, he inscribed. Along the walls, arches, and columns of Europe's cathedrals lie carved signatures, cryptic symbols, stars, crosses, loops, chevrons, often small, tucked beneath layers of dust and erosion. They weren't decoration. They were identity. Each mark was a name, a claim, a quiet legacy. Masons were organized into hierarchies, apprentice, journeyman, and master, and these signs recorded their contribution, their place in something larger than themselves. Unlike modern buildings stamped by architects' egos, medieval stonework carried the fingerprints of thousands, anonymously eternal. Some churches hold hundreds of unique mason marks, scattered like a secret language. In York Minster alone, over 1,500 distinct symbols have been cataloged, and that's just what's been found. The closer you look, the more you see. Some are consistent across regions, suggesting networks of schools or guilds. Others appear only once, singular and enigmatic. And then there are the anomalies. Symbols carved in places no mason should have reached, markings that follow geometric rules that mirror sacred ratios, astronomical alignments. Were some marks meant for more than attribution? In a time when most were illiterate, stone became the page, the hammer a pen. A spiral could be more than a flourish. A triangle, more than a badge. Perhaps some marks were signatures. Perhaps others were warnings. They call it decoration. A vine twisting up a column. A rose blooming in stone. A fox curled beneath a cluster of carved leaves. But what if these weren't simply artistic flourishes? What if they were theology made tactile? In Southwell Minster, ivy and oak spring from limestone, as if the church were growing from the forest itself. Buttercups, hawthorn, maple, each etched in precise botanical form, as if meant to be recognized, to be read. This wasn't mere admiration for nature. It was belief, a worldview where the divine was not separate from the world, but woven into its fabric. Medieval thinkers influenced by Boethius held that the best way to perceive the Creator was not just through Scripture, but through the design of nature itself. The way leaves spiral, how birds nest, how seasons turn, each a revelation. Every stone leaf, a prayer. Every carved flower, a gospel. And hidden among the branches, a face. The green man, part foliage, sometimes spitting vines, sometimes born of bark. He stares from cloister corners and chapter house ceilings. Pagan god? Forest spirit? Or a warning not to sever man from nature? They never mentioned this in the ghost stories. But the stones remember. We imagine Gothic cathedrals in gray, stone upon stone, cold and silent. But once they blaze with color. Inside these great structures, walls were covered in vivid hues, reds, blues, greens, and gold, applied in layers by medieval craftsmen. The ceilings danced with stars. Saints, angels, and scenes of heaven surrounded the faithful. This wasn't just art. It was sacred immersion. To walk inside was the end of the heavenly city, painted not with abstraction, but with spiritual instruction. So why is it all gone? Time erodes, yes. But time is not to blame alone. These pigments were scrubbed off, deliberately, in waves of reform and revival. Iconoclasm, aesthetic modernization, changing theology, each left its mark by erasing another. What were they trying to erase? In some cathedrals, faint traces remain. A flash of lapis lazuli in a ribbed vault, a crimson petal above a pillar. You have to kneel, squint, sometimes touch, to see what once blazed from every surface. The cathedrals weren't meant to look like ruins. They were kaleidoscopes of light and story. A paradise lost by our own hands. Not all altars were built on dry ground. Some Gothic cathedrals were raised beside or atop sacred springs. Today, they seem disconnected from water, but clues remain. Crypts with strange humidity, doors below the visible entrance, channels carved in forgotten subfloors. Take Holywell in Wales, a bubbling spring enclosed by Gothic masonry. Known for centuries as the Lure of Britain, its waters still shimmer beneath pointed arches, a rare surviving harmony between the spiritual and elemental. But what if this wasn't rare, only hidden? In places like Derbyshire, ancient rites like well dressing still survive, echoing medieval reverence for water. Yet across Europe, water systems were buried, diverted, or bricked up. Why? Raise the ground in your mind, and many churches take on new forms. What if the hill beside a church is not a hill, but earth piled over an erased connection? Crypts once open to flowing springs, now dry and forgotten. Water was once holy, not just symbolically, but physically, flowing through architecture like blood through veins. Purification, healing, divine presence, all tied to living springs. The church once embraced it. Then, suddenly it didn't. What is the purpose of a labyrinth, if not to be lost? Our journey into medieval architecture is not a straight path. It bends and coils, presenting signs, dead ends, and paradoxes. Like Theseus entering the Minotaur's maze, we step forward with a fragile thread of hope that there's something waiting at the center. Victor Hugo believed classical architecture was raised to crush Gothic memory. Fulcanelli warned of a secret lost beneath stone. Are we chasing shadows, or reading a script written in geometry and silence? Clues take many forms. A rose carved into a crypt, a forgotten aqueduct beneath a nave, a green man hidden above an arch. Each one is a key, not to be forced, but found. You cannot summon a revelation. You have to fall into it. As with dreams or love, the moment you try to catch it, it slips. But now we arrive at a structure so layered, so symbolically dense, that it defies mere historical reading. Our next destination is not just a cathedral. It's a riddle in stone, one that may answer everything or nothing. So we raise the sail. Not white, not black, just open to the wind.